Here we find Jim occupying the classic stance of the uninvolved objective researcher. He passes his endless days looking out of his apartment window towards the adjacent block, observing the various activities of his neighbors, who live their quiet, ordinary lives, eating, sleeping, dancing, partying, making love, and killing each other. Mr. Objective Researcher eventually conjectures that a murder has taken place while he was asleep one night. He gathers evidence to validate this initial conjecture, but he is still restricted by what he can see out of the window. Meanwhile, he seems relatively oblivious to the room he is in and the people who share it with him, most notably the beautiful Grace, working harder than she might be accustomed to in her real-life persona of attracting attention to herself. Eventually, Jim starts to include Grace in his speculations about the murder, and she becomes increasingly intrigued. Their conversation becomes a little more animated as she begins to share his tedious obsession with the lives across the block.
Lisa, what are you doing?
Jim's engagement with her is intensified as she starts to conduct more ethnographic inquiries of her own, following the suspected murderer around a bit.
Lisa, what are you doing? Don't go.
But Jim only seems to really notice her when she appears as a vulnerable figure, as she enters his fantasy space for real, when she breaks into the flat of the suspect. It is at this point that Mr. Objective Researcher's feelings have some impact on the empirical observations being carried out, as he realizes that he really loves her.
Come on, get out of there.
These feelings become more acute as the murderer returns to his flat, now occupied by the curious Ms. Ethnographer.
Lisa.
Precinct 6, Sergeant Allgood.
Hello. Look, a man is assaulting a woman at 125 West 9th Street, second floor, at the rear. No, make it fast.
Okay.
L.B. Jeffries. Chelsea 25598. Please. Stella, what do we do?
Will they come? What's she trying to do? Why don't she turn him in?
She's a smart girl.
Smart girl, she'll get herself arrested.
It'll get her out of there, won't it?
Mr. Research Object begins to suspect that he is being researched. He looks out of his window, trying to catch sight of Mr. Objective Researcher. Mr. Research Object then leaves the fantasy space, with view to sorting out Mr. Objective Researcher in his somewhat dodgy ethical research stance. Mr. Research Object enters the apartment of Mr. Objective Researcher, where Jim is ill-equipped for a rather abrupt paradigm shift. Mr. Research Object looks Mr. Objective Researcher in the eye and says repeatedly,
What do you want from me? Your friend, the girl, could have turned me in. Why didn't she? What is it you want? A lot of money? I don't have any money. Say something. Say something. Tell me what you want.
At this point, Jim falls through the window that has hitherto facilitated his gaze, symbolically entering the world from which he had been excluded. This, however, results in him acquiring a second broken leg, thus postponing his date with Miss Ethnographer for another day. But it seemed that she would be waiting.